DevOps can be confusing. Azure DevOps makes it simple, but you need to know where to go and how to implement it. I'm going to show you how to do all that, plus a whole lot more, coming up now. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Adam Gordon, an entertainer here at IT Pro TV, coming at you with another episode in our What is Azure series. In this episode, we're going to talk about what is Azure DevOps. And as you can see on the light board in front of me, well, it is a whole bunch of stuff that seems to go round and round and round. But we're going to debunk what Azure DevOps is by looking at our critical 3 questions. We always pose 3 questions to talk about Azure services to help you better understand them. What are they? We define what they are, what they can do for you, why they're so important. Why would you and your organization want to use this particular service or feature or capability? And of course, the eternal question, how do we actually make this thing work? And for the how, we always take a look at it in real time. We go into the Azure portal, we roll our sleeves up, we actually demonstrate how to stand up a service, consume a functionality, and or use it in some way. Let's begin by talking about what Azure DevOps is. Now, to talk about Azure DevOps, we have to remove Azure from the mix for just a moment and really generically define the concept of DevOps, because Azure DevOps is nothing more than just Microsoft-specific implementation of a general broad thought process that we see all over the place today, and we have seen for, at this point, several years in our industry, which is the idea of DevOps. DevOps, short for the joining of development, one of the key pillars of information management, creation, and consumption of services and organizations, is typically enabled through the development of those capabilities. So dev teams play a critical role in being able to create modern application-driven environments today. And operations, the ops in DevOps is all about operations. It's great to develop software, but we then need teams of people to step in, manage, maintain, optimize, and ultimately over time, continue to upgrade those services to make them available to our consumers, our customers, and the people that need them. And so for a long, long time in IT, dev and ops, development and operations, have been diametrically opposed and separate entities in an organization that typically would not be interacting with each other. So we would imagine that we would have a dev group, and we can just put the dev group up on the board here for just a second. Let's just assume, hypothetically, that we had the dev group over here, and they're a little group of people sitting up over here, and we would have them doing their stuff, and they would develop software and put out some sort of a product, and we can just put that right over here and pretend that this little circle in the square is our piece of software. And then we would have the ops group over here. And let's just put them right up here as well. And what we would have with the ops group is the ability for them to somehow magically get that software and begin to interact with it and maybe make copies of it and iterate through it and operate and maintain it over time. But the problem is that there was really this break, this mythical wall that stood between these two groups and didn't really allow them to directly communicate with each other, share information, and in any way really help each other out. Until DevOps comes around, in other words, we really saw these groups as being distinctly separate. Now, Microsoft didn't solve this problem of how we get them together, and Azure didn't make the world a better place by saying we'll put our name in front of DevOps. But what Microsoft and most cloud vendors have done today is create this capability for us in their service offering and enable us to now use the concepts of DevOps, the breaking down of this barrier, the removal of it to ensure that both these teams can collaborate together in order to optimize our ability to deliver software, usually as a service more often than not today, and to do so in meaningful, timely, and impactful ways to organizations. And so as we think about what DevOps is in the Azure world, we think about a capability matrix that looks something like the diagram I have over here, which is a multi-stage lifecycle that allows us to integrate development and operations capabilities. And as a result of that, allows us to, from the very beginning of a thought process about what it is we want to do, our dev team decides, hey, you know what? We need to build this new product. Well, what they're going to do is they're going to actually start to plan. And we know that planning is always the most important thing that we can do. If we plan from the beginning, we're really going to get it right, right? And so they're going to plan. And then planning has to lead to something. Otherwise, it doesn't really do us a lot of good. And it leads to the ability to actually develop that resource, that capability, whatever it may be. And as we develop, we begin to understand how things will come together and ultimately offer them to one or more through one or more channels to consumers, customers, whoever and whatever may want to use that. So this is really where we see the dev and the ops team come together in planning. The dev team takes over and does their job there, but then they have to give that over and make it available so that we can drive consumption, and that's where we deliver. And in the deliver area, we're seeing the ops team take over and really come to the fore because they're going to be able to move that product, that service, that capability out the door and make it consumable. And then they're also going to enable our ability to be able to consume it through ongoing operations, maintenance, management, and ultimately over time, upgrading of those capabilities. And so when we look at the life cycle here, we see the answer to what, because we see all the 4 stages in order, right? Going cyclically, clockwise, planning, development, delivery, and operation that make up DevOps, regardless of whether it's Azure DevOps or not. And then when we turn our attention to why is it so important? Why would a company such as your own want to be able to use a DevOps solution or the Azure DevOps capabilities that Microsoft provides? Well, we turn to the inner ring here with all the text I've written down around the application. This is the goal, in other words, develop that software, get that capability out the door, optimize it and make it available, represented by the application. But the reality is the answer to why is really all the text that I've written around the application in a ring here. And I know it may be hard for you to read it, but let's talk about what it is. Again, we'll go clockwise. We can collaborate. Well, we've talked about the fact that planning is really going to be a collaborative joint effort between the dev and the ops functions to figure out what each of them needs to do in order to optimize this capability to deliver the app once we develop it, and ultimately through delivery, make sure everybody can use it. So we're going to be able to collaborate. We have to do so in an automated way that's going to allow everybody to do their job at scale. Workflow and orchestration becomes very important here. We need to always be thinking about security and compliance. We need to ensure that we're doing things according to best practices, aligning with industry standard regulations, and making sure that whenever and wherever possible, we mitigate risk and we maximize the likelihood that we're going to reduce the attack surfaces that are already probably present and inherent in any of the code, any of the applications that we provide. And of course, we want to look at continuous improvement, what we call CI. We want to try to get better. All the stuff we're doing and all the collaboration, automation, and focus on risk mitigation and security is good, but we know for a fact we're only as good as the last time we checked in against what is happening in the real world. What are the threats we're trying to address? Are we up to date? Do we have all the most recent patches and capabilities in place? Chances are good there's something happening that we need to mitigate all the time. And so if we are continuously looking to improve, adding features is part of that, but making sure we're doing the best we can to collaborate between the teams through planning to ensure that development is creating the capabilities and features that our customers want, to then drive that feature and capability delivery in as optimized a way as possible. This is where operations begins to come back in. And of course, where operations shines on their own, where they can totally take over and operate that capability, maximizing it and distributing it globally. We begin to see the value of what DevOps can do for you and for your organization. So we've answered the what and the why. The only thing remaining, and it's a good thing because I'm running out of space to talk about stuff here, is the how. And you know, for the how, we always transport ourselves over to the studio and we take a look at how we implement, in this case, the Azure DevOps framework. And I'm going to show you how to build out a DevOps workspace using the DevOps capabilities and the DevOps portal through Azure. But we got to go take a trip, so join me over there if you will. All right, buddy, welcome back. We are going to jump in and take a look at the last question in our search for what the heck Azure DevOps is, why it's important. Now we're going to address, well, how do you actually set it up and use it? Join me here if you will. We're in the Azure portal. We've logged into the dashboard, and there's a couple of different ways we can go about this. Microsoft's actually put together a really cool thing called the Azure DevOps Starter, which is actually going to let you create a pre-configured, based on choices you make, set of constraints that develop and ultimately spin up an Azure DevOps environment for you. We'll take quickly a look at what that looks like. We've also got a separate Azure DevOps projects-based portal that we can log into where we can see projects we spin up and work with all the constituent parts of what a DevOps solution looks like, our pipelines, our dashboard, and all the capabilities associated with it. So let's see what both of those look like. We'll start in the Azure portal. We're going to take a look here. We're on currently the dashboard area, but we'll switch over. We can either go to all services or home, and we'll be able to search for DevOps and see what the offerings are here. So let's go to home. I've searched for both. And we have two elements that may be of interest to us. We have the DevOps Starter, which is that pre-configured set of templates and choices we make to spin up a DevOps environment. And we have the Azure DevOps Organizations area, where we can actually see billing and manage all the DevOps capabilities the organization has deployed. We're not going to spend time on the Azure DevOps Organizations area for now. You can explore that on your own, or who knows, we may actually have another episode in the series about it at some point in the future. But for now, we're going to jump in to the DevOps Starter area. Now, all I did to find this was simply come in here and do a search for DevOps. And when I do that, you'll see that both those options appear under services, and it's just a matter of choosing the appropriate one. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's choose DevOps Starter. You'll see I don't have any DevOps environments already configured. I'm invited to create one either right down here, the DevOps Starter button, or right up here where it says Create a Resource. So we'll click Create. When we do that, we're going to be told that we can very quickly get up and running with some just pre-configured steps Microsoft's going to give us guidance on. There's also a link there at the far right. If you're new to DevOps and the DevOps environment, you need some tutorials or some extra information, you can read through Microsoft's documentation right there. You're going to be invited to make a series of choices based on clicking on boxes, providing some information in the DevOps Starter wizard workflow. And at the end of that, assuming you have all those pieces in place, you understand how to set all this up, you'll actually be able to spin up a DevOps environment and begin by creating an application and then work with it. We're not going to go all the way through that process in the demonstration now, but at least you'll get a sense of what it looks like. The first step is setting up the DevOps Starter with either GitHub and or change settings and go to another repo, another repository where your applications can be hosted. You can push and pull and provide change management. You have options to do that. So full disclosure, right? Microsoft owns GitHub. They acquired it a couple of years ago. So it's integrated here and is the default choice, but you obviously can change those settings by clicking, and you can go in, as you can see, and use GitHub and or use the Azure DevOps solution to build, test, and deploy. It's totally up to you. You can switch over here just by clicking, and when you're done, click Done, and you'll see it makes a choice for you, lets you make changes and do whatever you need to do with no trouble. So we'll switch over to the Azure DevOps environment and use that. We then are asked to provide the choice, and again, there are defaults, so we just have to pay attention here to what platform we want our app to be developed on and or it's going to work with. .NET from Microsoft is the default, but notice we have Node.js, we have PHP, we have Java. The blue kind of very light outline around the .NET square and the blue circle with the check indicates that's the choice I've made. You can see I can easily change that by simply clicking around to choose what I want. And we have a whole bunch more, by the way, down here. It's really just a question of what it is, including the ability to deploy our own existing application we've already created to Azure. We just have to know where it is and bring it in and make it available if we're not going to use one of the pre-made solutions that we're then going to choose from here. All right, so we'll click Next beyond the framework. You'll notice, by the way, or beyond the runtime, rather, I should say, into the framework. You'll notice we have kind of a linear flow here that we'll execute against. We'll make choices along the way. We then choose an application framework. Again, we have several choices. Now, these are going to be limited and filtered based on the choice I made on the prior screen. So if I chose Java, I would see different choices here, for instance, right? And I can add a database depending on what I do. Again, choices will look different depending on the initial runtime you choose, the dev environment, in other words. So I can set this up and I can modify as needed ASP.NET, ASP.NET Core IoT in the case of Microsoft. And then I could specify where that Azure service will deploy the application, either as a Windows web app or to a virtual machine. Make those choices, and then And again, just choose how you want to do this. Click Create. We then have to provide some information here. We would have to provide the project name, the DevOps organization, the subscription, the name of the web app, a location, provide some information for tier and pricing. So let's just quickly put that stuff in. We'll call this Set Me Up. We'll call this, as long as it is unique within that area, no big deal. That is going to be my Azure DevOps organization, my subscription. Setmeup.azurewebsites.net is going to be unique. Specify the geography or region where I want this to be. Again, you make your choice and globally figure out where you want it. You can change the pricing tier if you want to do that. And then when we're done, review and create. We'll let that go off, do its thing, and eventually we'll stand up a DevOps starter instance. It's going to take too long for us to wait around for, but you at least get the idea behind what will be done. And over time, then about 10 to 15 minutes once everything spins up, could be a little less, a little more, depending on the choices you made, we'll be able to get going. You'll see the initial provisioning of the prerequisites seems to have gone well, and now we're actually into our deployment. All right, so we're going to let this just do its thing. We're not going to worry about waiting around for it. What I want to do is switch over to the Azure DevOps portal and show you another way that we can work with this. And notice the URL here, dev.azure.com. This is where I can set up my Azure DevOps workspace, and I can then, through the subscription and enablement of that, I can begin to work with projects and create DevOps projects that are going to integrate the entire dev and ops teams and allow them to have a central source of truth. This dashboard and all the capabilities and tools that go with the DevOps lifecycle and the management of it are available, and anybody can log in and be granted rights and work here to be able to drive those capabilities. So I've created a project already, but we can easily do that by using the new project button over here and then answer a series of questions to spin up the project. Once you do that, the project becomes a little tile or card underneath your login for you as the project manager or anybody who's associated with the project, and they'll see it on the dashboard, and they can then click through it as I'm about to do, and they can go in, and they can begin to interact with the project. And what they'll see is an overview area where we could see, and I don't have anything associated with the project right now, but they could see whatever's going on. They could see a summary. They can look at dashboards. They can create and use pipelines. We'll take a quick little tour here. You could see as I click through to the dashboard, I have one widget I've added, although I haven't configured it yet, but I can add additional widgets here if I choose to, or edit this existing one, and I can put widgets in, little units of application goodness and functionality that allow us to bubble up information like the status of the builds and the history of them, so everybody on the team that's integrating for this project can track and see what's happening, and I can configure any one of these, add and remove, as you can see, look at information about this, delete it if I don't like this one, and get rid of it, and then perhaps add more widgets from, as you can see, the pick list here. And maybe I want a deployment status widget. Well, I can learn more about it, and I can simply just drag it out, position it. Some widgets are a little bigger than others, so some of them take a little more room. The one I just had takes only 2 squares, so I can just build my dashboard as you're seeing me do here. And once I've got all those pieces that I think I want, I can go ahead and I can simply get out of here. And then when we're done, I can come back to the dashboard, and you'll see that I can start to configure these, and over time have the information flow come in, populate this, and be able to show everybody whatever those status updates are that they may need, and they can interact with these things once they're programmatically configured. I also can go in and I can work with pipeline elements associated with the DevOps thought process. This is really the heart and soul of DevOps. The pipelines are going to be the flows that allow me to interact with and ultimately create and drive the capabilities to generate software, applications, whatever it is we're doing, and through continuous integration, continuous deployment, allow us to move them from a mere thought in someone's head to being sketched out to being tried, developed, created, vetted, and ultimately released. As you can see, we kind of have all those capabilities associated here. And with pipelines, you can follow the wizard to create a pipeline and track them here and integrate them. We can look at our environments where we can manage deployments, view resource status, see all the operations side of what's going on. We can look at releases. where we can automate our release process using that CD, continuous deployment capability, to be able to automate and push software out. And we can look at deployment groups and, of course, set up tasks for people that integrate into the project to be able to do whatever it is we need them to do. This is a very high-level look at the Azure DevOps framework, but it allows us to see the capabilities that are built in both directly in the portal and through the separate Azure DevOps area at dev.azure.com. When we create a subscription and ultimately onboard, allows us to have a dedicated portal specific to the Azure DevOps capabilities and our team's reliance on them. So when we talk about Azure DevOps and we talk about how to do it, you've got options. And options, of course, are one of the key things that make DevOps so critical for our organization. It's the flexibility as well as the team dynamic that allows us to integrate development and ops that we rely on. And Microsoft's done a really good job of integrating those capabilities for us and giving us that possibility to work with it in multiple places. We're to call this episode done for now, but remember, as I always do at the end of every one of our times together, I encourage you to follow up with us over at IT Pro TV, where we spend time teaching you about all of these technologies and capabilities in more depth. And we give you a variety of options to learn with us at your own pace, at your own speed, and of course, in your own way. I'm going to wish you happy Azuring until I see you again, and good luck with deploying your Azure DevOps environment. See you soon, everybody.